So that's all about me. So I'm gonna hand over to Jan. Take it away.
Okay, all right. So to start, we're going to do like a short intro, a couple questions just to get to know you. So the first question is, how did you get into industrial design?
Yeah, I kind of got lucky because I feel like not a lot of people know about industrial design when they're going through college or figuring things out. I've been building things and making things my whole life. I remember when I was a kid, I would go into my grandfather's wood shop and he would ask me what I wanted to make, and I would say like a boat or a plane or something, and he'd help me make it. And I was only 3, like on the drill press and the table saw and stuff. Then that was a lot of fun, and then did a lot of art in high school, and also did some engineering classes like drafting and things like that. And when I was looking into colleges, I just stumbled upon the degree of industrial design. Like I think I was just like flipping through like the catalog of degrees. I thought I wanted to be an engineer, but I saw industrial design. I was like, oh wait, no, this is the right thing. This is exactly what I want to do. So I'm very like grateful that it just clicked for me. So I discovered industrial design, applied to some schools around, and then went to SCAD for my undergraduate. So
okay. And for any of us who don't know you, we should probably talk a little bit about your background. So how you started your career to where you are now.
For sure. So I went to SCAD, graduated in 2015. I did several different internships. Interned for the Boy Scouts, a small design firm in Charlotte. I also interned for a small little studio in New York. And then after graduating, I really wanted to get the full-time job. Like I think it's fine to get an internship after school, but I think first choice is full-time gig. So I just applied to every place I could. It didn't really matter like where it was or what kind of company it was. I was just like, I want a design job where I can make money doing what I love. So I applied to this place in Texas called PetMate. So they do all kinds of pet products, dog, cat toys, whatever you could think of. And I got it. And I had a few other things on the table. Like I had an internship offer. I also had a toy company offer. But the unique thing about the PetMate place was that it was just starting their design team, and I would have been the first designer, or I was the first designer. And so I felt like that was a very unique opportunity. Like certainly a lot of responsibility, but also a lot of freedom. So I really enjoyed that. I worked there for 2.5 years or so. And I think I developed 80 products that went to market, or maybe a little less, but like 40 products a year, which is insane. Products take usually a whole year to develop. Not the design process itself, but most people, like I was talking to Reed Schlegel, I'm sure you guys probably know him. He was telling me, I was like, yeah, when I was working at Smart Design, I probably did like, 10 or 15 products over 2 years. And I was like, and he was saying like that was fast. And I was like, oh, I did 80 at PetMate. But, it's a lot of it was just like cheap cat plastic toys and things like that. It's crazy. Another thing that I really enjoyed about PetMate was the fact that pet products aren't designed at all. Like no one thinks about them. So I felt like being able to go into the industry and really just come up with a simple, clean design that was actually thoughtful, I could really revolutionize any category. So that was my PetMate experience. I guess we should bring that up to speed. Then during my year at PetMate, my last year at PetMate, I decided to start posting on Instagram pretty consistently. I just decided to post every single day. January 1st, it was kind of like a New Year's resolution, I guess. And I did that for an entire year, for all of 2017. And of course, I had a following that grew exponentially. And it, really pushed me to do something each day that I was proud of. And I wasn't really, my manifesto wasn't really to make a sketch a day. It was just more like post something. make something, do something,
Mhm.
just to keep me busy, keep me sharp, keep me learning, and I felt like that community that I built up, I made a lot of connections, made some friends, and I started to get that itch of the pet product thing was getting maybe a bit stale and didn't really care for Texas. So, like I said, I'd interned in New York, and so I decided to just jump ship, just quit my job in Texas and move to New York. So I'm here now. I got here almost a year ago. It's coming up on a year. And I kind of wanted to get a full-time gig, like right when I got here. But I quickly soon realized that the consulting freelance lifestyle was appealing. Especially in New York, there's a lot of opportunity. And again, all those connections I made over Instagram really helped fed into that. So yeah, I've kind of abandoned the job search. Gonna just do consulting as much as I can.
Mhm.
I apologize. I now sorry for this quick side note. I realize that the Apple event is going on right now, so we must have missed our schedule wrong. But yeah, I just keep getting texts from all my friends like, oh my gosh, things are happening. So I apologize, guys.
No, that's fine.
If you look at your phone or something, that's fine. I totally understand.
No, that's fine.
You got to keep up with those new Apple products. All right, but I think that gives kind of a well-rounded history of where I'm at right now. So
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good story. So
Yeah, it's hard.
that's a good story. It's a great story.
All right. Backstory. So,
Yeah, you
sorry, I'm just throwing myself in here. In my portfolio class, we bring in professionals from around the U.S., and that way students have the opportunity to get some more student professional feedback. And so Jan had the first one, the entire class, he had the first one yesterday. And I said, all right, you got to work on these things. And so everybody here kind of knows what he's got to work on. So if you hear the chuckles, it's because we're still learning. So, all right.
Thanks, Ben. All right. So are you ready to do some sketching?
yeah, we can start sketching.
Okay.
Flip my camera around here.
All right. And I think the way we're going to do this is while you're sketching, I'm going to feed you some questions, and then you can talk about, you can answer them like while you're sketching. So
Okay, that sounds good.
that's
All right, let me just set up the camera here. All right, can you guys see that okay? Is that good?
Yeah.
Closer, maybe? A little bit closer.
perfect.
So I thought what I might do is give you guys a little bit more of a traditional way that I normally do it for clients, normally sketch for clients. On the Instagram and on my live streams and things, I kind of cater to that audience, but I wanted to give you more of a realistic look. And I know Professor Bush mentioned like you guys toilet paper trees after winning games or something, like that was a tradition of yours. So I thought I would do like, you guys know those leaf blowers that have, how you can like attach like a paint roll to a leaf blower,
I've thought about doing that.
and then you have your toilet paper on the end, and you can like blow the toilet paper into the trees.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that'd be fun to do as a product. Like I'm sure you could sell that, right?
Oh yeah.
So I thought I might just brainstorm about that a little bit, and then show you guys how I kind of take it into my iPad and make it more of a presentation for the sketch.
Okay.
But yeah, feel free to ask questions. I mean, whatever you guys want. I'm just going to kind of doodle around, think through my thoughts.
Okay. Yeah. So the first question is, what are some of your favorite tools to sketch with? I know you mainly work with pens, but do you have any like favorite, pens or markers that you work with the most?
I just enjoy normal ballpoints. I think they're just convenient. You can get a lot of line weight with them. I actually been recently sketching with a fine liner. I haven't really posted any of that work, but I don't know, just picked it up one day and I was like, it's not bad. I do use this Monami 153. It's just a Korean ballpoint pen. They're kind of like, you can only get them in Korea for a long time, and now they're on Amazon. But I don't know why I like it. I think it's just like smooth. I also just like the look of it. Like the tip is just clean and precise. It just comes down to a simple point compared to like your Bic, where it's just like some engineers just like putting lines in places that aren't really thought about, you know.
Mm-hmm. It seems like it's easier to get 3 different line weights out of just one pen.
Yeah. I think it's just the convenience of having that ability to build up your line weight makes the ballpoint attractive. But yeah, and then normally I take it into a digital format for client presentations. So let's see. I'm trying to think how this would carry it maybe.
You mentioned digital format. What program do you use to kind of do that work on?
I use Procreate on my iPad Pro.
Cool.
I've also used Photoshop and Cintiq. I've tried Sketchbook. They're all really similar. Procreate I really like a lot. And yeah, I mean, really any digital sketching tool is the same. You can use the same airbrush tools. I mean, there's some nuances to each of them, but
I've had a lot of people wanting me to ask about VR. So do you want to talk about like stuff that you've learned through using VR to design and maybe sketching with it?
For sure. So I picked up, this was maybe about a year ago. It was pretty recent. I just picked up the Oculus at a Best Buy, or I tried it out at a Best Buy, and I was like, oh wow. If you haven't tried VR, you definitely need to try it, because you don't understand it unless you try it. You know, people think it's just like some gimmicky thing, like the Google Cardboard or whatever. But when you try out an Oculus with the controllers and everything, it kind of clicks. It's like, oh, this isn't like 3D movies. This is something bigger. So once I tried it out, it just instantly clicked, and I had to get it. I was also talking to a friend who was playing around with VR a little bit, and he said, yeah, you should just buy it, Nick. And so that's what I did. And I've been kind of playing around with Gravity Sketch as my main tool. It's kind of like a sketching mix between sketching and a CAD program and virtual reality. And yeah, I mean, there's a few things that I think are really interesting about VR sketching. One is that it kind of is a direct connection to your brain, in my opinion. It's since you don't have to worry about perspective or shading or lighting or any of those nuances of sketching. You can just create. Like, there's no barrier to creation. And the second is like it feels like it's almost this middle stage of like, if I have an idea, like maybe this leaf blower toilet paper thing, I have this idea and I just want to see it in a little bit more definition, I can quickly go into VR and sketch it up and be able to see it in 3 dimensions and, turn it around, see the form. I can't necessarily feel it, but it's similar to like a foam model or a cardboard mock-up. And then surfacing is a game changer in VR. So those are the kind of 3 areas I see as being really influential in design. I'm still experimenting with it though. Mm-hmm. It's also really easy to make a VR sketch and then take it in Keyshot and make a quick model. Those Keyshot renderings that I do are maybe 2 hours from VR to finish render. This is kind of an interesting little setup. I was thinking of what if we had like a toilet paper rack, so when you run out of one toilet paper tube, you could just falls down to the next tube. This is like the blower here. But
Okay, so I just sourced a question from the audience, and they want to know what kinds of projects have you done so far in your consulting career?
that's a good question. I mean, definitely not as much as I did at the pet company. I'm still learning the consulting thing a good bit. I have picked up some more pet projects here and there. Not really working on anything currently. The one company that I'm working for currently is a tech company, tech startup. It's called Control Labs, CTRL-Labs. Look it up on Google. It's really interesting. It's essentially like mind control. I know this sounds crazy, but you can control your computer with your mind.
What did you say the name of that was again?
Control Labs, like control key, like a keyboard control key, like CTRL, and then labs. So that's kind of my current consulting gig. Yeah, is there more of a larger question to consulting? Because like, I think it's definitely something that people are curious about, like freelancing, consulting. I think I occasionally get a lot of questions like if you can freelance straight out of school. I don't really think I could have done it straight out of school. I think you really have to build those connections before you just venture off on your own. I'm not saying you can't do that, but just the ability for me to work at this company for 2.5 years and like pay off my loans and build up this Instagram thing and connect with like designers in the field, I think was super advantageous and allowed me that freedom to start my own little thing. In New York, I think it's special too, because there's companies that you can easily go to their office at any point. So for this tech company, I'm actually going into their office and working with them. And I do have a few remote clients that I work with too, just from my studio. Kind of liking this sort of thing here. So this is what my normal sketch pictures look like. They just look like pieces of paper, and I'm just doodling on them, coming up with the idea. And once I kind of figure out something that seems somewhat cohesive, I'll break out the iPad.
Yeah, I think in terms of freelance, that's something that a lot of us may have to face at some point, just because of the kind of the market we're dealing with in design, and like just in terms of like side hustles and side projects we're all working on. It seems like we're kind of already getting our feet into freelance a little bit. So I've like personally from my experience, like having the idea of working for free is sometimes kind of daunting, and like knowing what your worth is hard. Where if someone comes up to me for a job and they ask me what they should pay me, like do I do it by the hour, or do it like how do you value yourself as a designer sometimes when you're dealing with freelance situations?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it takes a lot of time to learn that. I mean, I've certainly done a lot of jobs that I'm like, oh, I should not have done this by the hour. I should have charged more, or whatever it is. I've also been freelancing since I was in school. Like you guys said, you take on these quick side hustle things, and maybe you're in school and doing it. I remember doing a few freelance gigs in school, and I also remember like failing at a few freelance gigs. I remember in school I was designing baby pajamas, which is definitely not up my alley at all. And in school you're taught kind of the process of design. The research phase comes first, and then you do the sketching, and then you do the final design or mock-ups or whatever it is. And I remember I presented this lady with all the research findings I had. So I just did like market research, like going on Google and like pulling like baby pajamas off of Target.com and stuff like that. And I present this all to her, and she just was like, looks at me, or she just emails me like, I know all this stuff already. Why are you sending it? This market research? I know what our competitors are. I know all this stuff. And she's just like, I don't want to work with you anymore. Why should I pay you for stuff I already know? So that was a mistake on my part. The research was just meant to be for me to begin with. I should have just started out with sketching and done the research on my own. So, you just learn things like that over time. And in terms of pricing, I always try to price per project. The way I do it is I kind of, I sit down and I figure out how long I think the project will take. And I take into account like time talked on the phone with the client or time meeting with the client. I also take into account any like prototypes that have to be made or market samples that I have to buy on Amazon. And I take all that into account. I figure out how many hours that'll take, how much money it will cost, and then I take those hours. So like, let's say it's just a sketching project, and it'll probably take 8 hours of sketching, 3 hours meeting with the client. And I take that's 11 hours, and then I double it, because it always takes you twice as long to do it. And then I just times that by my hourly rate, and that'll give me like a ballpark estimate. But there's so many factors too. And my hourly rate here in New York, I mean, currently I'm like anywhere from 80 to like 120. It really depends on what kind of projects I'm presented with. If you get like a client that you really want to work for, like this, tech company that I'm working for right now, and I'm like, oh man, I haven't worked for a tech company before. I really want to get this project. So maybe I'll charge a little less. Or maybe you really don't want to do baby pajamas, so you just charge a little more and hope they don't take it. Charge like almost an obscene amount of money, and then if they take it, you're actually happy because it's like, well, they're gonna pay me this much money. They're gonna pay me $100,000 to design some pajamas. I never quoted $100,000, just so you know, but just to make the point. But yeah, there's a lot of factors involved, and it takes a lot of time to learn. Yeah, so that's kind of my baseline right now.
Awesome.
See, we have another question from the audience asking, how important is networking? So can you talk about like how you have networked, how you've maintained your network, and how that has benefited you so far in your career?
Yeah, I think networking is definitely important. I also think just doing good work is important as well, and being like a nice person. And that kind of goes along with networking. I think the Instagram thing was definitely key in my network. I met my good friend James in New York, which I did a podcast with, and I don't know if anyone listens to the podcast, but I have a podcast called Minor Details, and I met James, and we kind of just hit it off as friends. We were just friends for a long time on the internet, just on Instagram, like always messaging and like just chatting. And eventually, when I moved up to New York, I was just like, hey, looking for anything. Let me know if you hear of anything. And slowly but surely, like James was like, oh yeah, there's this thing over here. You should stop by the office and check it out. And so I've kind of just connected a lot with James. So I think you just got to kind of find like a friend, like make a friendship first, and then you can kind of build off of that. I don't know. I just, the networking thing's interesting to me. I also think like just again, going back to like just doing great work. Like, if you don't feel like you have a cool project in your portfolio, do a side project. I don't know, just do something that stands out and that people are really awed by. Because I feel like that's a lot of times how I get jobs too, is someone says, oh, I saw this project on your Instagram or on your Behance. Are you interested in working together?
So I don't know if you know this, but Ben actually taught at SCAD before he came here to Auburn. So I think he's really interested in who you have maintained relationships or connections with since your time at SCAD.
I have a lot of friends that are from SCAD still in New York. I mean, they're all doing different things. I mean, I don't know who you remember, Professor Bush or Ben. Do you guys call him Ben or Bush?
Ben. He mentioned Owen Foster and John McCabe. I don't know if you did you have them as professors?
I didn't have Ben as my professor. I had Owen and McCabe as my professors. You must have started after I graduated. I can't quite remember. Or maybe you started like right when I was graduating. I can't remember.
Yeah, it started January 14.
Okay, so yeah, I was kind of going out when you started, I believe. But yeah, I mean, I've maintained a lot of my friendships from SCAD. My good friend Aaron Mendoza still came up to New York. I'm good friends with my friend Henry. Yeah, I mean, I think in New York it's nice because everyone's here. There's a lot of my friends are here. That's one of the big reasons I moved back, was just to be with my friends and other designers. Texas, you know, it has some design culture, but definitely not as much as New York. This is kind of interesting.
So I think we're gonna have to wrap this up at 12:50. I think there's a class. Is there?
Oh no. Okay.
So I mean, it's not 12:50, but so the last bit that we have with you, I wanted to open up to all of us here, so anyone could ask questions
definitely.
they may have. So
yeah.
Since you can you see us, or you can see us?
Yeah, I can see you guys.
I don't know if you want to like accept anyone who's raising their hands or whatever.
Oh no, just call out. Just call out. But.
Sure.
Why design culture so important to people?
Great question.
You mentioned about it.
Okay. Okay, so we do have one question to start from the audience. Is
Okay.
why is the design culture so important to you?
Mhm.
Okay, it's why is the design culture so important to you?
I just love design. I don't know. I just really have a passion for it, and I would do it no matter like a vacation to me. If someone said, "Hey, you get unlimited vacation for the rest of your life. I'll pay all your bills and everything," I would still design. I can't stop. I don't know why. I just love it. So being in a place that really fosters that and really values that, it's just really important to me. But I don't think I think the way I did it when I went to Texas and maybe didn't have as much culture, I think that was okay because I was still learning and I was still kind of finding out what I liked about design, and I kind of discovered that the place is important just as much as the job is. So.
Hey Nick, I got a question.
Yes.
Is it wise to take a design gig, not like a full-time type deal, but more like a quick internship or something? Or is it wise to take a gig and you offer to do it for free if it's a job that will help advance the career that you're specifically trying to get into?
I think it kind of depends on your situation. I mean, if you have the opportunity to be able to take a free job and you really want to do it and it seems exciting to you and you think you could do an amazing portfolio piece or have something that could maybe possibly get on a blog, something that could stand out, then I say go for it. There are some of those things that I do. I do submit to companies like Umbra or like there's some kind of houseware companies that you can submit designs to, and if they like it, they'll accept it and produce it and give you royalties. So it's a little bit different than like doing a design for free, but you're kind of doing it unknowingly. You know, you don't know if this will make money or not. So, yeah, I mean, if you're really passionate about it, I say go for it. Or if you think you can learn a lot from it, that's important too.
Yep, feel free to jump in.
Hey, so Nick, question for you. Do you know any, or what's your favorite book about design or sketching that you've read?
I'm not a big reader, but I will say that I did read this book recently by Jasper Morrison. It's called A Book of Things, I think. Yeah, Jasper Morrison, A Book of Things. And it gave me a lot of insight into how he works and really his philosophy. It really reinforced the fact that sometimes you need to be honest with the design. You know, sometimes I feel like I side on the crazy, gimmicky. I mean, with my chair sketches and all that. Sometimes I can get a little crazy with my design. And Jasper, that book kind of brought me back down to earth and was like, sometimes it's okay to just let the design be and let the product be the product. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's a good book.
I selfishly want you to tell us a bit about this exciting product you've been working on for the last 20 minutes.
Oh, right. This is the Auburn toilet paper gun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you got your blower here. Somehow the motor and the battery fits in here, and yeah, maybe we put the logo on it, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. You got the A.
Hey Nick, I have a question for you about kind of making yourself known. So
Yeah.
you've built a presence on Instagram and you've got people who follow you, some tens of thousands of people at this point. How do you get the guts to make that first leap?
Well, I mean, when you have only a couple hundred, this is not that hard. In my opinion, I mean, I didn't really care too much when I was starting out. It was just like a few hundred people that were watching my stuff. I will say though, like, I guess in reference to that question, I think there's something to be said about the fact that I started the Instagram for me. Like, I started it as a New Year's resolution to get me to do something every day that I was proud of. I didn't start it to get a lot of followers. I didn't start it to, I don't know, be sponsored or whatever. I just wanted to make things that I was proud of, or do things that I was proud of. So I think at the core, you just have to find what you really love and what you are proud of doing, and just practice that. I also, along with that, I think, I mean, there's a lot of nuances with Instagram. You know, the landscape's constantly changing of, you know, how you can grow on Instagram. I think just doing sketches is maybe a little harder to grow a community now unless you're doing amazing, like, hand renderings or whatever it is. For me, I also thought of Instagram as a good place to experiment. So I was also, like, trying out new things. I mean, if you scroll back, I was making, like, wooden objects. And then I tried out the VR thing, which really stuck. I did digital sketching, traditional sketching. I did all kinds of things just to kind of play the field.
That's perfect.
So, which toilet paper company is sponsoring you?
Quilts and Northern. So this is usually the level I'll present sketches at with clients. Occasionally I'll put like just a gray color over it, but sometimes I'll just hatch it in. Just enough to get the idea across, and then we can refine it later. I kind of doodle along with this one a little bit longer than I usually would, but I like to put a little vignette or a box behind it just so it pops out the sketch and gives it some more dimension. Any other questions?
Nick, how was the transition from going, like, designing on your own and just, like, posting on Instagram to doing, like, these sort of live streams? Was there, like, a difficult transition to, like, being someone who creates something to someone who, like, performs for other people?
That's a good question. I think everyone's different. Everyone has a different personality, and not everyone feels comfortable doing those live streams and things like that. The live stream specifically with me was another experimenting thing. I started out just experimenting with everything. Like, Instagram came up with a new feature. I'm going to try it out. Instagram did this, or there's this new, VR tool. I'm going to try it out. I just kept experimenting. So that's where the live streaming came from, and it just kind of worked, and I stuck with it. Also, again, doing something that you just enjoy. I enjoy live streaming. I think it's fun to interact with the audience and everything. And yeah, it definitely is a little bit different, especially now. I started a Patreon recently, so I'm doing more tutorials and things. I eventually will probably grow that into more of I won't say vlog style, but I don't know, quick tips on my freelance life. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it, but I don't know. I feel like I do create a lot more content now than I used to. I feel like I was more focused on designing the product. Now I'm focused on not only designing the product, but capturing the story behind it, which I think is also, it's super important, especially if you guys are in school, building a portfolio. It's simply been a transition. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about it, but I feel like it's the right transition. Making this toilet paper branded. It's gonna have the Auburn logo on it. Collegiate or college.
Another quick question, Nick. One of the ups and downs of posting your stuff in a public forum is you get feedback. Everybody likes positive feedback. How do you deal with the negativity that comes with producing your stuff publicly?
It depends. It depends on the type of negativity. Sometimes it is just blatant, ignorant negativity, and in that case, you either just ignore it, or I personally tend to just troll the trolls. You never want to feed the trolls. You always want to, make fun of yourself in a way, right? A lot of people will comment on my chair sketches and be like, "Oh, your chair would never work," or "Your chair is so wide. Why is your chair so wide?" And I always comment to something like, "Oh yeah, my butt's really wide. That's why." Just something really dumb like that. I don't know. It's just you gotta remember you just gotta take it lightly. I don't think you gotta take it personally at all. If someone's giving you a real critique and they're pretty well-known designer, it's certainly something you should take into account and understand where they're coming from. But yeah, I think we'll say this is the sketch, and I'll turn back to FaceTime so you guys can see me talk. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's your toilet paper gun.
Perfect.
I can also send you this sketch too if you guys want.
Yeah, definitely.
But let's see. Is it? Oh, there you go. How are we doing on time?
Yeah, well, it's 12:49 here, so yeah, we're gonna have to wrap up
Okay.
here. But I just want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us and show us your process. So
Yeah, thank you guys. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. I try to respond to all my messages or whatever. And yeah, I don't know. Any one last question or something? Anything else?
I mean, I think a round of applause is due.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.